In this lecture, we will talk about how to authenticate our Einstein platform API using our Apex code. So as we have talked about that, Einstein platform API uses JWT as an authentication, which is JSON Web Token. And in our previous lectures, when we were talking about the authentication schemes, we have also talked about what JWT is and how it works. So just to give you a quick recap, JWT uses three things to get the access token or to generate the access token for us, where the first part is header, which is going to accept the algorithm by which we are going to encode our uh, payload and signatures so that we can get the access token. And then the second part is payload, which is going to have the information about the user, which user is trying to get the access token. And then there is one third last part, which is signature, the signature which we are going to generate using this algorithm, the first one. So let's quickly see. Before we go ahead and actually start implementing, we are going to check how it is going to work inside the jwt.io, which is the official website for JWT. So these are the three parts we had just discussed. The header, which is going to contain your algorithm, where we said that type is always going to be JWT. And let me quickly refresh this first. So yeah, algorithm is HS256. You can change the algorithm from here. There are various algorithms like HS, RS, and then there are some ESPS. And then this is the payload. The payload, which is going to be subject name and when it is going to expire. And then this is the signature. Signature is going to be your HMAC SH256, the algorithm that you have selected, and then the base 64 URL encode of your header, and then base 64 URL encode of your payload, and then the secret, the 256-bit secret, the API key that we have downloaded. That was the purpose for this key. And then all three are going to be concatenated with a dot. So you can see here, this is a dot, and the more information is available there into the lecture that we have seen into the earlier or while we were talking about the authentication schemes. So this is the simple and a quick way where you can go ahead and just try to test here. If you try to change some bit here and then you say that if you try to change here, it is again quickly saying that your signature is not valid, and which is a kind of very secure way to just use that JWT while we are authenticating two different platforms. So this is a document, the official help document which Salesforce does provide, where we have got these four options. Let me quickly give it a zoom here. It is providing you like first we need to create a JWT, then we need to request the access token, and then we will get the access token over here. So we'll start one by one, number one, number two, and then we'll see how we actually implemented this inside our Salesforce environment. So if we talk about here, create a JWT, right? JWT, we have to prepare some sort of JSON form because the name itself says JSON. So if you see here, construct a JWT header, we said that the header is kind of going to be algorithm, whatever the algorithm we are going to pass there, and then the type, which is always going to be JWT. And then we need to base 64 URL encode. That is what this step 2 said, and that is what we have seen over here into our JWT official site. And then what we need to do is we need to prepare some claims. Claims is going to be containing some sort of parameters, the payload, which we actually say here. This is the payload what we have got here. We have got the subject. Subject is going to be the username, and then we have got the expire at, when it is going to be expire at. There are various things, um, and then we have got issuer. Issuer is the client ID of your connected app. If you are not using client ID, sometimes it is going to be the URL we are going to see. Then audience is going to be your URL where you are actually going to hit. It might be your login.salesforce.com, test.salesforce.com, some sort of community URL, and sometimes it is developer.salesforce.com. And then the subject is your username, the username of your user who is going to access or who is going to request the access token. And then there is expiration time, when it is going to expire. Usually we set as 60 minutes, 3 minutes, whatever you want, but as a best practice we mainly set as 60 minutes. So this is a kind of JSON file we need to prepare, we got the issuer, the client ID, then we got the subject, then we got the audience, then we got the expire, and then we again need to base 64 URL encode. That is again the part of our JWT schema, the authentication process. And once if we encode this as the base 64 URL, we will see the outcome like this. And then what we need to do is we need to encode this with the help of a dot. That is what we have seen here. The header and then the payload both are concatenated using a dot. That is what we have done here. And then what we need to do is again we need to this is the example here. You can see this is the URL encoded for header. This is the URL encoded for your claims, which is payload, and then it is concatenated with the dot. And at the end, we need to use our signature, and then we need to get our existing string, which is this one, and then we need to generate the signature, which is going to be the actual signature, which we will send to get the access token. So this is going to be your key, and then this is how we are going to do the request part. So let's quickly see how we have made this inside our Salesforce. So for this, what we have done is I have got a complete JWT class, then I have got JWT bearer flow class, and then there is another helper class which is HTTP form builder. So I will walk you through one by one. So here in the JWT we have got various variables. If you can see here, the algorithm which we are going to store, who is the issuer, who is going to issue the access token for us, the subject, the username, audience, and then expiration date, when it is going to issued, when we are going to issue the access token, the claims, basically that is going to be our body, the payload, valid for up to 60 minutes, which we have seen, then the certification. In JWT, there are two kind of things we can use, either a certification name which we have uploaded, or with the help of a private key. So we are going to use this private key, which is we are using PKCS8. And then the private key, this is going to use in case you are using certificate name to generate the algorithm, to generate the signature, the actual signature, which will be used and which will be sent to generate the access token. That is what we have just seen here. And then we have just created few variables for storing, like this is the algorithm HS256, this is the algorithm RS256, which we are going to see. Why we are using RS256 instead of HS256? So if you have noticed that your key is containing RSA private key, that is not HS or HSA private key. That is why we are using RS256. If you want to check that, you can just go ahead quickly, download your key, and then once you have downloaded, you can just go to show in folders, and then you can just edit with it with any notepad plus any editor. Here you will see that this is an RSA key. That is why we are using this key instead of HS, this algorithm. And here we have a parameterized constructor which is saying that the algorithm, which is whatever the algorithm you are sending, we will see how it is working, and then valid for it. Again, it is for 60 minutes, which we have set as 3600 seconds. And then this is the method which is going to generate the signature, the assertion that we have seen, the very third step of here, the signature one, which is going to generate that. So what we have done is we have got the JSON generator, which is your standard Salesforce class, which is used for parsing some sort of your JSON is a class which is used for parsing. Then JSON generator is a class which is used for generating some JSON file. So if you have noticed here how our code was like this, what is algorithm, right? And then our code was what is type. So like this. So to generate this, what we have done, what we have did is, instead of using this as a string form, we are generating with the help of JSON generator class. We say that start object. Object is nothing, which is a opening curly braces, and then we say that end object, which is nothing, which is a closing curly braces. And under that we have field. We have written that field, which is a form of string. We said that it is an algorithm, and the algorithm which user is passing as a parameter inside while constructing the object of JWT class. And then we have got encoded header. That is what we have seen, base 64 URL encode. And then we have just got this header dot get as string. This is what the header we have generated. Okay. And again, next we have got the payload, which are going to be claims, which say that whatever the issuer we have got, the subject, the audience. Again, starting is going to be the opening curly braces, and then ending is going to be the closing curly braces. That is what we are going to do is, or what we are doing here is, in the code we are going preparing this. So that is what we said. Write SUL, write subject, write audience, and then we have got the current time span in a Unix timestamp, and then we added whatever we have got expired at, sorry, issued at right now, and when it is going to expire is right now plus 3600 seconds. So we have set as expired at as well, and then we said that if there is some additional information, just write those as well inside the same body, and then end those. After ending that, we are again going doing the same thing. We are encoding the header, adding with a dot, and then we are again decoding whatever body we have got, and then say that get as a string, so that we can get in the form of a string. And then what we did, we checked if the algorithm is HS256. We are using the private key to generate the signature. That is what we have generated over here. If the algorithm is RS256, again we are checking if there is any certificates name you are using. Generate the signature using RSA 256, and using the crypto class, which is again your Salesforce standard class, which is used mainly for encryption and decryption. And then if certification is null, then we are using our private key that we are passing, and then we are using sign using crypto signature, and then at the end use a dot sign, and then say that basic URL encoded whatever signature we have got in this JWT. So that is what it is happening over here, if you have noticed. And once we have generated our signature, we are just returning that assertion, the verified signature that we have got. And the method that we have prepared, we have used this method base64 URL encode, which is again a new method which we have built here for encoding that, which is using encoding util, the standard class, and there is a method base64 encode. So that is how we are using JWT encoding. Once we are done with this, there is a helper class which is JWT bearer flow, which is which is used to get the access token, which is used to give you the access token. So here we have got in the access token, you have seen that grant type, then we have got the body. So let's quickly get back to our document again to understand what kind of body it accepts to get the access token here. If you scroll down here at the bottom, this is the kind of access token here. You can see request and access token. This is what we are going to talk about now. We have got the content type, which is going to be URL form encoded, and then this is the grant type, which is always going to be same and same for every JWT authentication. And then you have got the assertion key. So this is the body, okay, and then this is your content type. You can here see grant type and assertions, these are the body. So let's quickly see what we have done here. We have prepared the body, which is saying that grant type. We got the grant type here. We have said that URL encode. Even if you send this, it is not going to throw any error. And then the assertion, and assertion, from where we are getting the assertion? We are getting the assertion from the JWT class, where we are passing a parameter which is saying that JWT dot assertion. And there is one more additional parameter which is saying us give us the token endpoint, which endpoint is going to send us the token, the access token. That is what we have got here. Then we have got set, the method is post. Why we are setting post? Here the method is set as post. This is the URL which is for Salesforce, but for our platform API there is different URL. We will see that. Content type is again going to be what we have just discussed, and then we have set the body. And here we are sending inside our try catch blocks. We are saying if status code is 200, that means it is giving us a success response, and then we are getting the success here, and then we got the access token. If there is any error, we are just getting the error and then returning access token from here, from this method. So this method is doing this kind of giving you the access token. Now to get the access token, we must need to get the endpoint. We must need to prepare the JWT from here, from where we are preparing that JWT. For that, there is one more class. We have got Einstein API service, which we will also see in the later lecture as well. So this is the auth endpoint, which we have got api.einstein.ai version 2 auth 2, and then we wanted to have the token. So that is what we have got as an endpoint, and then this is what we have got prepared the method where we said that get access token, and this method is reading the file we have downloaded. So if you see here, we have got the title, which is platform services uh, or predictive services. There might be two different, you might be using two different files. So if we go ahead and then execute this query here, so it should give us one result, which is this. Why it is giving the error? Result 1, which is title, is saying that platform services, and the title for our file is Einstein platform. Sorry, that is the same which we have written over here. Why we are querying that? Because we need that key in order to get the JWT access token. And then once we have got that, we got the data in the form of string. Then we have here, you can see we are replacing some content here. Why we are doing that? Because this kind of content is not needed for us. This is some unnecessary content. Even if you see in our key, this is unnecessary content which we are just replacing with a blank value. That is what we have done here. And then we are also replacing new line with a blank value, so that we don't get our key file and different line. If you see here, there are different lines, right? So we don't want this to be in a different line. We want the key like this. That is what we have just replaced /n with a blank value. And then this is where we are preparing our JWT. What we said that we are using JWT, a parameterized constructor. If you see here, you have got JWT, a parameterized constructor, which is saying, which is accepting one parameter, which is algorithm. We are sending the algorithm, which is RS256. Then we don't have any certification. Now we have got key content, the key content that we have just got from here. Issuer is, our issuer is developer.force.com, and then the subject, the username is the email of the user which we have used to sign up into the platform. And then audience, the authentication endpoint is this, and then expiration time is 360 seconds, 3600 seconds. And then this is what we are, this is the line which we are calling our JWT bearer flow, passing the parameter authentication endpoint and JWT, and getting this access token. Rest all methods we'll discuss in the next lecture, but this is what we have for the authentication over here. So if we wanted to test it, let's quickly test this, and we'll see how we are getting that access token or not. Before we go ahead, I will just quickly debug this here, and we'll say system.debug, and then I'm just need to put that access token over here. I'm just trying to save it, and we'll see if that works. There is one thing which we are missing, is we have to add this endpoint as our remote site setting, because we are trying to consume an external callout. We are trying to get a system inside our Salesforce. We are trying to get some data from the from external system to our Salesforce. Now let's add this URL as an endpoint here. We'll go to setup. From the setup, we'll search for remote site setting, and then we will add that endpoint URL. So I will say Einstein, or I'll say eAPI authentication. Once we have saved this, it is going to, okay, we got some error. Yep, the error is it should not contain any space, either underscore or without a space. The complete character should be, the complete word should be here in the remote site name. So we got our API over here. We'll go to developer console, copy the name of our class, and we'll say that Einstein API dot, and the method name is get access token. So we'll just execute this, and we'll see if there is any error we are getting, or we are getting the access token. So here is our debug log. We'll just filter by debug only, and then we got that access token. That means our code is working fine, and we can use this access token to make some API calls. So this is it for this lecture, and in the next lecture we will see how we can actually use this access token and use some sort of methods to extract the text from the image using our Einstein platform API, which is optical character recognition. Thank you.